coming up on this part 2 episode of the New Money Habits podcast.
I set fire to her kitchen, Nino, and she had me back. So I put it outside.
Wow.
I mean, it was just right in the microwave. I was microwaving popcorn and just got distracted. And then it caught on fire, and I picked it up and put it right in the snow outside. It's a perk of being in Massachusetts, is it's snowy for like 6 months of the year.
Hey there, budgeteers. Are you ready to unlock the power of each payday and take control of your finances like a boss? Introducing the Payday Power Planner from New Money Habits. This isn't your average budgeting tool. Oh no. With the Payday Power Planner, you'll harness the unique rhythm of your paychecks to supercharge your financial game. Say goodbye to the confusion of monthly budgets and hello to the clarity of every payday. You'll know exactly when money is coming in and when it's going out, giving you the edge you need to stay on top of your finances. But that's not all. With the Payday Power Planner, you'll easily spot whether you're rocking a surplus or facing a deficit. Armed with this knowledge, you'll make informed decisions that set you up for financial success. It's time to transform your relationship with money and create the new money habits you need to achieve financial freedom. Get your hands on the Payday Power Planner from New Money Habits today and start making every dollar count. Don't let financial stress hold you back. Create a better plan for your money and seize the power of your pay period and thrive with the Payday Power Planner. Visit newmoneyhabits.com now to grab your free copy and unleash your financial potential. My kids being 14 and 10, so just a little ahead of yours. In the next stage, I noticed. So my daughter's a real go-getter, and she's like I said earlier, into everything, which includes 2 years ago she started doing junior lifeguard training, and then she would. Right now, her shifts are voluntary. So 2 summers ago, she had a bunch of shifts. This past summer, she had a bunch of shifts. But in the state of Arizona, by the time she's 15, she can actually be a lifeguard. She can get paid to be a lifeguard. But in the city that we live in, there is next to lifeguarding training, there's also babysit training because it includes things like CPR and rendering first aid, that sort of thing. So now she's of the age like she can earn money for caring after others. And so she did a couple of Fridays ago. She made a whopping $50 on a Friday night. And the lessons there are now, what do you do with the $50? Because in this household, $50 made does not mean $50 spent. And there's got to be some other disciplines. So before I divulge what we have done, I'd be curious for kids of that age group that are earning money, or even, kids your age when they get the Target gift cards, if they weren't gift cards, if they were getting cash for birthdays and whatnot, what are the lessons there for those who are kind of earning income, or they're getting money as gifts at different times throughout the year?
Yeah. So we do, with the allowance, we have spend, save, and give jars.
Mm-hmm.
And they get their allowance in cash, and they bring their gift to church. Their save is saving for the future. My daughter likes to say she's saving for college, which might be true. I don't know. It's just not enough. Hers isn't in a 529. And her spend is on herself, right? And so it's 50, 30. No, is that right? No, 60, 30, 10.
60,
is what
30,
we do. Yeah.
So that's 10% give, 30%
save,
60% spend. Okay.
Right. So you can spend on yourself twice as much as you save for yourself. Save for your future. And that's how I like to do it. It's not, a lot of people do it 20, 30, 50. It really depends on what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that kids look at that 20% give and they go, wow, that's a lot. But 10%, they're like, okay, all right, okay. And it's also their tithe, right?
Yep.
So it gets them into that habit at an early age. Now, once kids get to be 10, 11, 12, they can actually make a basic budget. You can sit down and draw out like a little chart and budget with them and start discussing spending habits and life and financial goals and guiding them, and allocating their allowance or their earnings um, according to their goals in life. And it's a good age for that. They're psychologically capable of doing that,
Hmm.
and they're also psychologically capable, or psychologically capable of understanding ratios and proportions and all basic algebra.
Yeah.
So they can figure that out, and it's really great that it's applied.
Yep.
It's applied math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do something similar with our kids. There's 4 buckets because save and invest we kind of separate out. So it's give, save, invest, um, and then spend. And we talk about different ways to invest. So one of the things that the kids wanted to do, maybe we did this about last fall. Maybe that's the last time we had a garage sale. During a garage sale, they wanted to sell like snacks and beverages. So we go to Costco, we stock up on bottles of water and like full size candy bars and the whole thing. And there they are with their little table and everything's out, and their little Venmo link, so that as people could come, yep, as people came up, if they wanted a water or a snack, they could earn money that way. And so part of this investing, so our things are 10% give, 10% save, 15% for investing, and then you get to do the balance 65% spend. And so for investing, not only do I have custodial accounts for them where we can actually get them into the market with EFTs or mutual funds, but if they want to take that 15%, save it up so that they can go to Costco to buy this stuff to then try to sell it at a profit, that to me is investing. So, all right, I'm going to let you try that, because investing, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And so they need to learn that. And yeah, so it's fun to get them to think kind of outside the box, because my parents did not do this with me, right? Whereas like find a little side hustle, find a way to create, income and income opportunities. So yeah, that's the
No,
breakdown.
my parents didn't either, but they also didn't give me money for things that I wanted. So at 11 years old, almost 12, I remember opening Microsoft Word, finding a template for a flyer,
Hmm.
putting together a I can babysit in your neighborhood flyer,
Mm-hmm.
and walking around my neighborhood with my pet rabbit in my arm. I'm not a pet rabbit person anymore, but I was at 11 years old. And and I went around and flyered the whole neighborhood.
Hmm.
And this one woman came up to me, and I babysat for her kids for the next 5 years. She came up to me and she was like, "You look very responsible, and what a lovely rabbit." My kids are, I think they were like 5 and 9 at the time, and I was 11,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, I think I turned 12 like the next month or two. And she went, "Yeah, I'll hire you." I set fire to her kitchen, Nino, and she had me back. So I put it outside. I
Wow.
mean, it was just right in the microwave. I was microwaving popcorn and just got distracted. Um, and then it caught on fire, and I picked it up and put it right in the snow outside. It's a perk of being in Massachusetts, is it's snowy for like 6 months of the year.
uh,
Yeah, no harm, no foul. Like, it was fine. I didn't get burnt. The kitchen was fine. Cleaned it all up. She wouldn't have even noticed, for the most part, if it hadn't been for me telling her boys telling her, and the faint aroma of burnt popcorn
mm,
by the time they got back. But no, it was, for me, it was just Like, I didn't get the money to buy things that I wanted. And so I figured I had to go earn it somehow.
Hmm.
But that was something that was built in me as a child with dad dollars at one point, is what they were
Hmm.
called, because my dad did a little allowance for like a year or two. So even that little bit
Yeah.
built in this connection of work equals money,
Hmm.
and I have to plan for what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So just so you know, even every little bit helps.
Indeed. So I think I want to kind of summarize a couple of points that we've made and just kind of bring those to the forefront. I think one, when talking to kids about money and teaching them how to manage money, it's obviously got to be age appropriate. But it also, like for me, I'm living vicariously through my children, because once they start to earn, being able to help them understand the importance of give, save, invest, spend is just not a lesson that I was ever taught with money. I had to learn it later as an adult, and then I felt like I was behind, um, because the earlier you can get these habits instilled, and I've already had conversations with my 14-year-old about, like, this is how money is handled. So when you start working, it's still going to be this way. And then even out of that spend category, helping her to remember that you want to drive, and I'm so excited for her to drive. Everybody tells me that I'm nuts for that. And be that as it may, I know how badly I wanted to drive when I turned 16, so I'm encouraging her to do the same. But I said, my car insurance is going to go up. Who's paying the difference? Because it's not me, right? So that 65% that you get to spend now has to be budgeted for the things that you want. And something like insurance is every month. So every month you're going to owe mom and dad whatever that difference is, if you want to be able to be a licensed driver in the home. And it was met with a little bit of disappointment, or just like a stark realization, right? Because until we start making money, we don't really understand, like, oh, there are these responsibilities. So it'll not only grow her in character, but it gives children dignity to have responsibilities that they're contributing to. And it helps to not undermine their independence. So she's got to feel like, okay, I have the independence to go out and work and earn money, and I have the dignity of taking care of the responsibilities that are mine. Hey there, budgeteers. You know, good news can only be good news if there's bad news. So, what's the bad news? The bad news is you and I have a deadly disease called sin, and this disease causes us to rebel and disobey God. See, God is holy, righteous, and just, and he cannot be in the presence of sin. So this horrible disease of ours separates us from the God who created us. And the bad news gets worse. There isn't anything you or I can do to make ourselves right with God. We are dead in our sins and on our way to an eternity separated from God. But that's not God's will for us. See, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. God did what only God could do. He made a way for us to be reconciled to him through Jesus Christ. Jesus came into the world to save sinners like you and me. While we were still sinners, storing up God's anger against us for our rebellion and disobedience, Christ died for us. Jesus took the punishment that you and I deserve and have earned. Jesus is the substitute for your punishment and mine. Now, isn't that some good news? The word gospel means good news. The gospel of Jesus Christ is that you and I broke God's law, and Jesus paid the fine. When we place our faith and trust in Jesus, we get to experience God's grace and mercy. Our gratitude should turn us from our rebellious and disobedient sin toward God, seeking after him and his righteousness. When we do, God gives us a new heart and a new mind. Praise God for his goodness, and remember, God loves, humans sin, Jesus saves.
And giving the dignity and like the dignity that comes from responsibility and paying for things that are your own, it will carry her through adulthood. So I was working with a client, a son of a client. That sounded like I was going to say something else. But a young adult who came out of college and didn't know what he wanted to do with his career. And it was an impossible situation. Okay, completely impossible. He was 22 years old. Some of his friends had gone and started a business, and he was coming out of an Ivy League school. And he was like, I could go into the Peace Corps. I could start my own business. I could go get my JD. I could go get my MBA. I could do anything I want, and I don't know what to do. And it was actually this really annoying conversation for me, although I don't think he noticed how annoying it was for me. And it ended up, I ended up finding out that he was living at home rent free. His mom had always been somebody to pretty much coddle him. He didn't have any responsibility. All of his expenses have been taken care of by his parents his entire life. And he did not understand the value of his education or the value of his decisions. So he didn't, and it's funny, he didn't feel that dignity. He actually had a very negative view of himself and his own self-worth. Even though he was pumping himself up in this discussion, it came out that he was like, well, I'm not, I just don't know who I am, and I don't know what I'm good at, and I don't know, because he hadn't been challenged. He hadn't been given responsibility. He hadn't had that dignity grow in his life because of the responsibility, where he hadn't had evidence of his hard work grow in his life. And so it was an impossible conversation, but his dad was paying me. So I'm like, okay. And he did get something out of it, right? He decided not to join the Peace Corps or get his JD or MBA and go get a job for a couple of years, and figure that out, so that we got somewhere in that discussion. But and his dad was going to kick him out. So, it's whether he did or not, I won't tell you. But it's if we let's talk about teenagers for a moment. Can we talk about teenagers for a moment?
Please.
Because they have so many emotions, right? And their emotional development is so very strong and off-putting in their teenage years for most, not everybody. They're forming the strong personal values. They're concerned with peer acceptance, right? They want their friends to like them, and they want to develop their self-image as teenagers. And a lot of parents will go into this. And I don't have teenagers myself, but I had tumultuous teenage years, and I brought up my siblings, which is something most people don't know about me. I pretty much brought them through their teenagehood while I was in my late teenagehood and early 20s. Anyway, so they and I developed and had these tugs and pulls of like, I'm getting super hormonal and I want my friends to like me and I don't know who I am. And the moment any of us got some responsibility and started seeing the effect of our actions on others and understand what we were responsible for, a lot of that went away. Not just because we were busy, but because, hey, my sister got a job at a local grocery store. I was about to say the name, but then I don't actually want to identify her. And she got framed for theft, if you can believe it. So they found out who was actually stealing from the store. It was somebody else, but she got framed for theft, and she was fired for it while they were investigating. And then they tried to hire her back because clearly it wasn't my sister. And she developed this image and these values of being more of a justice warrior, understanding the actual causes before accusing people of things. She also understood that other people's actions have an effect on the people around them,
Mm.
and who she could trust and who she couldn't trust. And it was just really, really, believe it or not, really good for her to get fired for something that she didn't do.
Mm.
So she ended up going in to take care of other people. She now works in the medical field and is this like rock star in the medical field. Um, but I just want to let you know, if you have a teenager, give them some responsibility, like real responsibility, and see and guide them through it. Be their listening ear. Help them understand when it is their fault, when it isn't their fault. Don't berate them. They're not going to take it anyway. And
Mhm.
just listen. Listen and guide them through it. That's what coaching is all about, really. Uh, it's very, very helpful for them. And they can understand things like the power of compound interest. So
Mhm.
investing, like you were saying before, Nino, they can understand that their actions will accumulate over time, and their investments will accumulate over time.
Mhm.
So it's really fun. I find that it's really fun working with teenagers, pimples and all, emotions and all, because they're like, "Oh, I could do anything," and then they do things, and they're like, "Wow, I really don't like that," or "Wow, that was great," and they're just so full of passion.
Yep.
So
Yep. The I am a firm believer that the quicker you can get them, teenagers, children in general, but teenagers specifically, the quicker you can get them out of their world and into the real world, the better. And I'll give you a perfect example. Of course, so my daughter, who's now 14, is she's a freshman this year in high school. So pray for me.
yes,
But all through middle school as well, all the middle school garbage, all the middle school crap, all the you don't wear a middle part. How dare you? Catherine, I noticed you don't have a middle
really,
part. Like you, you
you
know,
don't wear a middle part now?
yeah.
What happened? I thought we were still in middle part ages.
No, no,
I
that's the thing. So my daughter doesn't, and so all of her friends, her quote friends, were like, "You don't wear a middle part. What's, like your hair looks stupid," and like, okay. So she had to deal with all that, and I needed to take her out of that world and go, and we go to the food bank, and we would volunteer, and when she was in that environment, instantly realized how much everybody adores her, which all adults adore her anyway. But like, what I wanted to show her is here's a slew of strangers of all different ages. And it's more of like a work environment than a school environment, right? School environment, nowhere else in the world other than school are you going to be in a room of people exactly your age, like with essentially the same knowledge and whatever. Like, no, you're going to be in a diverse environment, diversity in age, diversity in experience, all sorts of things. And I like to brag on her a little bit because we go to the food bank. We kind of get split up. I'm over in the meat area. She's in the bakery area, and it's not that far away, so I can see her or whatever. But they kind of had her doing her own thing, like, hey, just package these things up with a bread and a baked good or whatever. And we did this when she was 12, 13, whatever it was. When we wrapped up, the manager of the food bank comes over to her and says, Faith, you are always welcome back, and you don't even have to bring dad next time. Right? Like,
oh,
so, like, and then with her being a junior lifeguard, the same thing. So, yes, most of those lifeguards are teenagers, but their bosses are all 20, 30, 40-year olds. And so the work environment is diverse, and everybody adores her there. And she gets along with everybody. And so getting my daughter out of the school environment into other environments where she has to be responsible, but she's also around the true diversity of just life, right?
mm-hmm.
Helped her to realize, like, oh, the crap I deal with at school is not real life. Like, real life is this over here. And so the responsibility that comes with it, the integrity, the dignity, the the learning, the eye-opening experience of like, oh, school isn't the end all be all, because we can say that to our kids all the time, like it's just school and it's not going to be like that forever. But the more you can get them out of that environment and into a real environment where they're experiencing responsibility and a contribution to something bigger than themselves, it goes a long, long way.
That's a great tip. And I think I'm going to take that on myself because, again, I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. My 9-year-old is starting to call herself a preteen. And she's like blasting Taylor Swift. And everything she sings in the shower is Taylor Swift. And I have nothing against Taylor Swift, but I don't know. My 9-year-old, right? She's 9.
9.
And yeah. And I'm starting to see like pimples and different stuff. Like she's getting to that pubescent age. I just hadn't thought of bringing her outside of her own peer group and the impact that has. Actually, I think that's why youth group is so important in churches. I think that's what a great environment to be around older kids and then be an older kid and around younger kids. Like it's really helpful. But thank you, Nino. I appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. I just think it's a part of the whole development thing. In tying it back to like the money part of it, right? Like teaching kids about money is first about teaching them about responsibility, like being able to trade their knowledge, skills, and abilities and for income. And so even though we were volunteering, but like just giving her that responsibility and she knows like what she's learning there will help her. She has a friend who also 14, just got a job, but working at an apparel shop that like her uncle owns. And so her friend was all like, do you want me to see if I can get you a job? And she's like, Dad, would you even let me? And I was all like, yes, because I'm watching you out in the world, realizing what responsibility truly is, and being able. One of my favorite stories to tell about this past summer is she needed to get her volunteer hours signed off on by one of the managers, right? And she was hesitant to do so. And I'm all like, Faith, you gotta go and talk to your boss. Like this is an important life skill that you need to develop to be able to communicate with your supervisors. I have that life skill. I can walk in there very easily and be like, excuse me, my daughter is volunteering. She needs her hours signed. Like I have that life skill. You need to develop it. And the more we give our kids these gentle pushes when they're in a safe to fail environment, right? I keep telling her like they all adore you. So even if you're kind of like hours volunteer, like they're going to give you so much grace, right? They're going to be like, oh, sweetie, yeah, you need me to sign your volunteer. And of course she speaks plenty fine, but she is in her own head about it, right? Like I can't, I don't know what to say. I don't want to bother them. I'm like, look, they expect you to come to them when you need something. So anyway, so important to do it at this age when it's a safe to fail environment, when the risks are low.
Can we talk about that for a moment? Because safe to fail means different things to different people.
Hey there, budgeteers. Are you tired of feeling like your finances are running the show? Well, it's time to flip the script and take charge of your money with New Money Habits Financial Coaching. This isn't your typical financial advice. New Money Habits is about empowering you with the knowledge and tools you need to make savvy money moves and build a solid financial foundation. Here's the deal. We're offering a free discovery session to kickstart your journey to financial freedom. Yep, you heard me right. Free. In this session, one of our experienced coaches will help you to pinpoint your financial goals and create a better plan for your money. We're talking about mastering your money mindset, picking up practical money management skills, and having someone to hold you accountable along the way. So, if you're ready to kiss financial stress goodbye and say hello to a brighter financial future, then schedule your free session today to create the new money habits you need to achieve financial freedom. Okay.
And I actually disagree with that. A safe to fail environment.
Okay.
So I coach a JBQ team. It's a junior Bible quiz team. And I have kids from first grade through sixth grade in it. Now, if I made it safe to fail, we would never get first. And the last time we competed, we were first in the district for our league.
Mm-hmm.
And so for our level. And the first time we competed, we were last in our league for our level. And so we progressed, right? Now, what I stopped doing was making it safe to fail. I started letting them experience their emotions and their failures. I got a lot of tears. I did. And the kids needed a few more hugs than, I got their parents' permission to hug the kids. And I'm the pastor's wife, like, yes, you can hug the kids. And it's so I stopped making it so safe to fail, and they started competing more, and they started doing better and better and better. It was safe in that they're not going to physically hurt themselves, but it was unsafe emotionally. And and so they were all full of anxiety. They were all like very concerned about failing, and I have them fail on purpose, in practice. And I'm not the nicest person. Like, everybody thinks a pastor's wife is going to be really nice. That's not me. Like, I'm coaching these kids, and I'll ask a question like, how many books are in the Bible? And a kid will buzz in and they'll be like 65. And I'll just be like, wrong. Anybody else? And this kid, like, the very first time I did that, one of the kids recently had just joined the team, his face fell so hard. He's just not used to being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, it's okay. It's all right. We're all wrong here. Everyone's going to be wrong. You're going to see us all get questions wrong. You get 3 wrong and you're out of the match. It's okay. Every single person who's been to a match has been ejected from it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is safe to fail. It is not emotionally safe. You're not going to get hurt, though. And we're just going to learn to overcome the emotions that come with failure.
Yeah. No, I think it's important to clarify what I mean by that, because being from adult education, we provide safe to fail environments. But what we mean is you can completely botch it here, and you're not going to ruin anybody's life. And, you're not going to lose the company millions of dollars in some type of lawsuit because you said the wrong thing or you did the wrong thing. But even in that safe to fail environment, when you make the wrong decision, we smack you upside the head with it in a scenario. Like, for instance, if we're teaching a manager how to have a difficult conversation with an employee, right? And we do all this through like e-learning. So you're making decisions, and then you make the wrong decision. The consequence of that might be that in the e-learning, it's all like, you've now been there's a suit that's been filed against the company because of what you've done, right? So it's safe to fail in that you've made this horrible mistake, and at least you did it here in the training, and you didn't do it out there in the real world where there would have been that severe consequence would have actually been real, right?
Yeah.
So to your point,
Yeah.
it's not. We learn through failure. Failure, like, I don't know when we as a culture and a society decided that like nobody was allowed to fail. Failure is a great teacher. It teaches us what not to do next time.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the most successful people on this planet failed hundreds, if not thousands of times before they succeeded. So it's through failure that they learned resiliency. They learned how to pull back and look at a wider perspective. Failure teaches us so much. So when I say safe to fail, it's more like, hey, you get to make a mistake, and the consequence is going to be minimal. because you're 14, because all you're doing is asking for a signature on your volunteer hours. Like, the world's not going to come crashing down around you in this particular situation. So
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, let your kids fail. Let them fail in mostly safe environments. It's okay if they get scraped up a little bit,
yep.
but let them fail. And if you don't have kids, I don't know why you're still listening to this episode, but if you're a parent, maybe it's okay to fail too. It's okay for you to fail. That's how you learn. Get back up, learn what you did wrong, and put some guidelines in place. Put some I call them my little we do candlepin bowling here in Massachusetts.
Mm.
And so the little guardrails for bowling,
Yep.
put them up. It's okay.
Yeah.
Fail, learn, put your guardrails up, and then keep going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Failure is a very powerful learning tool. And we need to be okay with it. We need to be okay with, like, I think about anybody who learned how to ride a bike. The first time you took those training wheels off, you failed.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have not met a person yet. I've never heard a story yet about somebody who understood the balance of a bicycle the first time they got on it and it was smooth sailing. You failed. You got up and you tried again, and you probably failed again. And then you did it again, and you did it again, and eventually you got really good at it.
Yeah. Yep. With maybe a few scrapes along the way, right?
Yes, but those were teachable moments,
Yep.
Funny bicycle learning how to ride a bike story. So I'm 8 years old, and it's my first time on a 10 speed. And I didn't realize that 10 speeds don't have pedal brakes. Okay.
Just the handbrakes.
Handbrakes only. I did not know this. So as I got up and I got speed, when I went to go stop, I didn't know how, because nobody said, hey, by the way, there's no pedal brakes. You got to use the handbrakes. And I landed in a ditch and I broke my wrist. And I was in a cast for the next 6 or 8 weeks, whatever it was. So I quite literally broke bones riding a bike, but yet here I am. And it doesn't stop me from getting on a bicycle now.
Oh, I don't ride bikes anymore because I got a lot more than a broken wrist from bike riding. So I'm not going to go into that story. My kids just know Mom can't have any more concussions. So yeah, it was one of those. So no, Mom can't have any more concussions, so I don't ride bikes anymore. So it's sometimes you have to keep yourself in a safe to fail environment for specific reasons.
Yeah.
But most of the time you can get right back on that bike.
Right. I have a buddy who's gotten hit by 3 cars. I don't think he rides a bike anymore. So
yeah, I got hit by a car.
Mm.
Yeah, it's no more. I've got anyway, super fun. So
well, considering how far we had diverted from talking to kids about money, maybe that's just a good place to kind of wrap up for this particular episode, unless there are any closing thoughts, Catherine, that you want to share.
Yeah, my closing thought on talking to kids about money is just start. Just start. You don't have to fully, completely identify what psychological or numerical milestone they're in. You know your kids. Start with something, feel it out. It's going to be a little frustrating. You're going to fail. It is a safe to fail environment. Your kids will not be scarred or traumatized by you trying to help them learn about money. They will appreciate it. 83% of adults wish their parents had taught them anything about money.
Yeah.
So don't put your kids in that 83%. Take them out of it. Help them understand something. We've given you a few ideas here. Just start. Start now. I don't care how old your kids are. If they are still living at home, do it.
Yeah. I think that I'm going to want to have you back on, and we'll talk more specifically about talking to your kids about very specific things. Because as you were saying that, just start. Sometimes we don't know where to start. Now, everybody can have the value of money, the trading, your knowledge, skills, and abilities for money, and then trading that money for things, goods and services you want. But maybe next time, what we talk about specifically is having the conversation with kids about the use of things like credit cards.
Ooh, yeah, let's talk about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, we will leave that for next time.
Okay.
In the meantime, Catherine, tell everybody where they can find you and what you're up to.
All right, come on over to saverstreet.com. Saver as in not a spender, but a saver street, spelled out.com. I am the financial coach there at the moment, just the only one at the moment. So come on over, let's talk, hit the complimentary consultation button, and I'll make sure that you get to where you want to go, even if it's not with me.
Fantastic. We'll make sure that all the links to your stuff is in our show notes. Again, thank you for being with us, and we will have you back.
Thanks, Nino.
That does it for this episode of the New Money Habits Podcast. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure to hit us up on social at New Money Habits and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review to help us spread this message of hope to people looking for a better plan for their money.